So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on part of the part of the day that you're going to watch this. It's evening for us, so good evening for us. We're going to be discussing the evolution of craft beers in Maharashtra so far, and discussing the revolution of craft beers going forward. And there was no better person in my mind than the guy who started this all, not just in Maharashtra, but in India, Suketu Talekar from Doolally. He's been an inspiration for all of us. And every craft beer entrepreneur that exists in India, should say a big thank you to Suketu for bringing this to India. So we'll start off the discussion with Suketu. Suketu, I'm sure we'll get into discussions of where the craft beer scene is, where it's going to go, how we've gotten here. But before that, if you could just give us a brief background about yourself, about how you got, what is your education journey been like, and how you got into craft beer space.
Okay, so first up, I'm just going to put it out there for everyone कि थोड़ा hype था introduction, right? So ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है, right? I just happened to be doing what I did through a series of coincidences and luck, right? So my background, मैंने standard engineering MBA assembly line product हूँ मैं, right? So I did my diploma in mechanical engineering. उसके बाद मैंने bachelor's in production engineering करी, and then I worked for a bit, and then I did my MBA. So उसके बाद मैंने जाके PNG में काम किया, brand management में, and then I've been doing this. It's like I left my job in PNG in 2005, and it's 2022 now. So between 2005 and 2022, Doolally is what I have been doing. That's the background.
So give us a brief, idea of how you thought about getting into the craft beer field, and I'm sure there's a background as to why you chose Pune as the center to start off the craft beer revolution in India.
Okay, so why beer is very simple. Yeah. So if you're engineer MBA, your education is like, for most of us, it's fueled by Old Monk and Kingfisher, right? So
correct.
And for me, it was Kingfisher more than Old Monk, and I've always liked beer. Like, we're a hot country, and I did my engineering in Aurangabad, which is like a very hot city, right?
Correct.
So I've always loved beer, man. I mean, since I was quite young. And when I went to Singapore for my to work in PNG, someone told me कि यार वहाँ पे बोट की पे ना एक ब्रूअर्स नाम का जगह है जो अपना खुद का बियर बनाता है.
Yeah.
And I was quite fascinated. I was like, okay, interesting. So I've heard of I don't know, places that make their own ice cream. I've never heard of a place that makes its own beer.
Correct.
So because I like beer in any case, I landed up there, right? And I had my own low budget blue pill, red pill moment, right? Where you know that तुम्हें चुतिया बनाया जा रहा है, तुम जो पी रहे हो वो beer है ही नहीं.
Correct.
And that's how I discovered craft beer, right?
Yeah.
Curiosity got me there, and the product got me hooked. And I spent almost every second or third day for that year I was in Singapore at Brewers, right?
Correct.
It was a fascinating crash course in craft beer and how it is different, and because the microbrewery was right there, and I made friends with the founder there, Devin Kimball. Like, I got to see the brewery firsthand, the making of the beer firsthand. I got to meet the brewers. I understood that kind of, like, it's almost indie music kind of culture, right? Amongst craft
Correct.
brewers, right?
Correct.
The collaboration, I like the vibe, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what got me hooked, yeah. And I realized that there is clearly a lot of potential to do better beer in India. Like
Correct.
you're a hot, humid country, and you have extremely mediocre beer.
Correct.
And here is something that is so much better, right? And has so much
Correct.
culture, right? And
Correct.
it's not just uh, you know a soulless product in a bottle made by a faceless monolith, right? It's
Correct.
not it's
Correct.
not a serial number. There is a
Correct.
story there. There is craftsmanship there, right?
Correct.
There is so much more to beer than just the beverage, right? Not just in terms of variety, but in terms of uh, the story of the beverage and all
Correct.
the it's such close tie into like human history too, right? So काफी fascinating था. And that it got me hooked, man, and that got me to quit my job and come back with this idea of making craft beer in India.
Correct. Correct. And 2009, if I'm not wrong, the journey you moved back in
No.
2006.
2005 end-ish, I moved back and we started work with the government of Maharashtra.
Correct.
Uh, Maharashtra, because I am a Marathi person, so there is some amount of social capital
Correct.
here in this state, and
Correct.
it was very clear that this has to be navigated through the bureaucracy, right,
Correct.
to get this done.
Correct.
And hence the place we chose to do this was Maharashtra. Also, there was a bit of history to Maharashtra being a little progressive with the wine policy, right? So
Correct.
there was that
Absolutely.
context. There was that context too. And I'm from
Correct.
Nashik, so I had sort of front row seats to that unfolding when I was growing up, right?
Correct.
I saw
Correct.
Sula come up. Like I saw the entire wine category come up in front of my eyes in that city, right?
Correct.
So there was that optimism that hey, they did this once before, so they'll be open to doing it again.
Correct.
So we started work with the government of Maharashtra. We like filed a memorandum saying that hey, this is what we want to do, and we seek your permission to do this. And they said, okay, we don't have any license for this, so
Correct.
we can't allow you to do this. And then we asked, then what do we need to do?
Correct.
Right? We understand that there is no current license that sort
Allows
of
us to
allows
do.
us to do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what do we need to do? Then we said, okay, then what needs to be done is some sections of the Bombay Prohibition Act and the Maharashtra Beer and Wine Rules and the Special Licenses Act, etc., need to be amended so that
Correct.
legally it's allowable to, legally it can be allowed to, you're allowed to do what you're asking us to allow you to do.
Correct.
Then we went through the whole process of going through these acts, right? Identifying relevant sections, right? Looking at other countries where
Yeah.
microbreweries and craft breweries existed, looking at through whatever information is available on the internet. And क्योंकि ये government चीजें होती है तो information publicly available हो जाती है, right?
Correct.
So it's
Correct.
not
Correct.
not very. So if you're persistent in your research, it's not difficult to find out how are microbreweries regulated in Berlin, for example.
Yeah.
It's possible
Yeah.
to do, right?
Yes.
So we did like a survey of that, and then like figured out mota for the configuration that we were thinking of as version 1.0, which is a brew pub, a microbrewery and a pub.
Correct.
What parts of the existing rules would need to be modified.
Correct.
And then we and this we did with the good people in the excise department, right? So
Correct.
that bet turned out to be true, that they will be supportive, right?
Correct.
So they were supportive
Correct.
to the extent of like delegating senior officers to lead these projects, and these senior
Correct.
officers being very supportive in evaluating and commenting on the proposals we were making. So that entire process happened, right? A proposal was made, it was then approved by the minister, then approved by the law and judiciary, and it was gazetted. And that finally I think we got our LOI 2007-ish, 2007-8, 18 mahine lag gaye the. And then we spent another 18-24 months in trying to raise capital. So, so we had the LOI for a brew pub, right? So we were raising capital for both the brewery and the pub. But this was pre-Bira, man. So Bira wasn't kosher or sexy, right? So, so there was no venture funding, right? And plus there was this regulatory uncertainty. Ki, okay, this is one business, this is one state amending law, right? In a tax rate, in a category where every state needs to amend laws for this to become like a national kind of a market.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so like you can imagine, right? Like, and plus the taboo of alcohol and all of that, right? Even from an investing point of view.
Absolutely.
So long story short, we were not able to raise enough capital, right? So we were able to raise enough capital to do either like make beer or run a restaurant.
Yeah.
Right? We could not raise money to do both. So we choose to, like, given that we set out to make beer, we are clearly it was a no-brainer. We said, okay, we'll invest money in the brewery and we'll find someone who has a restaurant. Right? And we'll put the brewery inside there. We'll do some revenue sharing, like do some Intel inside kind of branding where the restaurant brand is theirs, but the beer brand is ours. And they don't sell any other beers, right?
Yeah.
Why would they? If there was a freaking brewery at the door, why would they sell any other beers, right? Unless we do really bad job of making the beers. So we did that, right? And that's how in 2009, the process of raising money, finding a partner, setting up the brewery, and pouring. So in 2009, we poured our first pints. So 2000, about 3.5-4 years from me quitting my job and Oliver coming to India to us finally pouring
the first pint of beer.
Yeah.
So just for the uninitiated in this segment, a brew pub is essentially a restaurant with a brewery inside it. And a microbrewery is a separate brewery. Microbrewery can be in two forms. Essentially, a brew pub, which is a restaurant with a brewery, and a production brewery.
A brew pub is what microbreweries are in Bangalore, right? Whether it be Doit or whether it be anything.
Absolutely.
So what you have in Bangalore are brew pubs. What Vipul does is the microbrewery.
Correct. Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And that was a separate war that was fought with the government 3-4 years after you started the Doolally brew pub, essentially.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that was the logical next step, right? So this was a conversation we had with the excise department even when the first round of changes were being made.
Yeah.
Where we had said, like if you're doing all of this, just allow us to fill in kegs and sell to restaurants within the city, right? Where so it can be like a local beer kind of a thing.
Correct.
We said, okay, this is a new thing, right? So let's go one step at a time, right?
Yeah.
So let's do this brew pub thing where we have a tiny brewery and a restaurant next to each other with a pipe connecting the two.
Correct.
ये हमने किया नहीं है कभी, right? तो पहले वो करते हैं.
Correct.
And then like come back to us, right? Look, so we are giving you like 2 lakh liters a year capacity. Go start selling and then come back to us, right?
Correct.
So we started selling, right? And very optimistic we were. We thought we'll kill it. We were the first in the almost the first in the country. I think we were second or third in the country.
Yeah.
The Gurgaon guys happened before us.
Correct.
I think the Rockmans and
How's that?
Correct.
Yeah.
So we thought, you know what? We'll sell like 15,000 liters every month from the first month.
Correct.
What a surprise! It didn't happen, right?
Correct.
You can dissect it 10,000 ways, but the fact is that it didn't happen, right? And we slowly built it up to like 3,000-4,000 liters a month. Now, when I look back, that itself was a pretty astounding thing given the location and etc., right?
Correct.
So, but clearly it was not enough, right? Because you have a capacity of about 10,000-15,000 liters a month and you are selling like 3,000.
Correct.
Right? So then we again circled back, right? to the government of Maharashtra saying, ki, hey, can you give us the permission to fill in kegs and distribute?
Correct.
And incidentally, around the same time, Naveen Apna from Gateway, right?
Correct. Correct.
They had been pursuing the government of they had been pursuing with the government of Maharashtra separately, saying that hey, you have created a brew pub. Now,
Correct.
can you create a microbrewery which is a standalone manufacturing unit of the same size in an
Right.
industrial area?
Correct.
Right? That kind of a thing.
Correct.
So. So it was coincidence that when we went back saying, hey, give us permission to fill the kegs, like I think 6 months before us, Naveen had already started haunting the old customs house every day, meeting people saying, hey, like if a brew pub, then why not a microbrewery?
Microbrewery, correct.
Yeah. So that took about another 18 months and the government of Maharashtra appointed like a Upavidhan Samiti, which is a bunch of excise minister sends a bunch of MLAs.
Correct.
They send them to the brew pub in Pune, in Corinthians. They came, they saw, they understood, then they recommended, okay, whatever they are asking, give. And then the second round of gazettes were introduced, right, which allowed microbreweries to fill beer in kegs and sell to other places, as well as allow for a standalone brew pub kind of a thing. So a standalone microbrewery kind of thing. So that I think that happened in 2013, if I'm not wrong.
2012, yes.
2012, 2013, right?
Yeah,
so we went from, I think by that time, Barking Deer had opened up in Mumbai.
Yes.
White
Owl was under this way.
White Owl had also opened up in Mumbai. Pune mein Shelly had not opened up yet. Shelly came 2014-ish, right?
Correct. Independence came in 2014, yes.
2014. Effin Good Independence.
We forget TJ's.
TJ's was there. TJ's was there. Correct.
If I'm not wrong, TJ's was the second microbrewery in Maharashtra.
Second microbrewery.
Yes.
Yeah.
In Amanora.
I think right. A year, like exactly a year after us. A year after us.
Correct.
So by 2012, there were like two brew pubs in Pune, two brew pubs in Mumbai, and Naveen with a standalone microbrewery in Mumbai.
Correct.
That was the second round, right? And then between 2012 and 2015, all you guys came, right?
Yes,
you,
absolutely.
Nakul, Sherry, Manu, all of you guys came, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So sorry.
So yeah, I mean, essentially that's what we did. We moved from a model where we were selling at the restaurant itself, and versus move to a model which was we could manufacture it anywhere and sell it to any restaurant that we want in Maharashtra.
Yeah. Also sell it at the restaurant if you have one, right?
Yes, if you have one.
So to me, that was an interesting evolution, right? Now you have two different channels of sales, right? And you have a choice. You can choose now, right?
Correct, absolutely.
You can choose to have an asset-light model and say, okay, let me see if I can set up 200 taps across Mumbai and Pune.
Correct.
Or you could go and say, okay, can I go and say, can I set up one big brew pub in every city, like above the size of Nashik in this country, right? Is that a viable business plan, right?
Correct.
It also opened up, interestingly, a third one that we took, right? Which is like, can I open a tap room, right? Like a restaurant which sells my beer.
Correct.
So it was an interesting thing for me. Like that was it really opened up a door for pretty much everything that has happened up after that. That keg thing was a key moment, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the next big thing that happened.
Let me give you a perspective on like how it impacted innovation, right? So like if you count if you measure innovation as the number of unique beer styles
Yeah.
made by all the players in the industry put together.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So you have a period between like 2009 till 2013,
Yeah.
and then you have 2013 to let's say 2017 पकड़ ले, 4 साल पकड़ ले, दोनों side, right?
Correct.
The difference is, I think, 100x, right?
Correct.
And the
Absolutely.
difference is 100x, because the players became 5x,
Correct.
right? Or no more, even more. I think players became 7x or 8x. We are 18 now, right?
We are now at 21. But
Yeah,
2017,
like,
we were at 15, 16. So yes, so the difference was around 10x. Yes.
So and it opened the doorway for the format innovation. There are a bunch of us tried tap rooms, right? Naveen ran that I'm going to set up 200 taps experiment really seriously, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And all of us got so much to learn from that experiment that he ran.
Correct.
So yeah, so to me, it's a pivotal thing, right? That it got in lot of talent capital in form of great entrepreneurs, right? Which meant that we had great innovation. And we had not just innovation in format, not just innovation in product, we had innovation in format.
Format as well. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So, I mean, we can't discuss craft beer and not come to what has happened over the last two years now, which is
that's the second big one.
Correct. So, which is essentially growlers. March 2020 is when every calculation, every plan, every business plan in the book went out of the window. It suddenly became it became as if our lives had almost stopped for us, literally, and not just in terms of our social life, but in terms of what we would do once things started opening up. Because March 2020 is when the panic struck. And that was true for everyone, regardless of the business model that you were in. Whether you were running a brew pub because you were wondering whether people will come to restaurants or not, whether you were running tap rooms because,
or even if you were Kingfisher.
Even if you're Kingfisher was maybe slightly in a better position because they had bottles and people could drink beer at home. But essentially, for the craft brewers, all of us were shitting bricks.
We were dead.
Yeah,
we were dead.
We were where are we going to go from here? Was our biggest question in April 2020. And I don't know if you remember, but we were doing those multiple Zoom calls to figure out what is it that we should be going, what should we be doing to the government. And June 2020 is when the government heard us out, and something which we were discussing with the government for the last 4 years, which is growlers, became a reality.
Yeah. Not just growlers, man. Not just growlers, e-commerce.
Yes, essentially,
e-commerce. Yes.
So what we've been discussing so far is how we got to where we were in 2020, and how we got to where we were is always an interesting insight into what we should be looking forward to going forward from here. So 2020 is when growlers got allowed, and the second biggest thing in Maharashtra was the home delivery of beer was allowed. So we essentially went from a model where a consumer has to come to our restaurant or partner restaurants to drink a beer, to essentially using one of the most abused words these days, became a D2C brand. Where
uske fridge mein, like as a when you started as a company, Vipul, you had a dream, right? Ki ek din मेरा customer ऐसा fridge खोलेगा, मेरा bottle निकालेगा और ऐसे beer खोलेगा, right?
Correct.
Being in the consumer's fridge is what you wanted, is what I have wanted, right?
Correct.
We were just mapping a route to get there, right?
Correct.
So right, and this, so there are two parts to this, right? One is the fact that you wanted as a craft brewer, right? One of your aims, right, was to have a share in the consumer's fridge, right?
Correct.
To be a
Correct.
bottle in the consumers. That was one, right?
Correct.
And your second biggest challenge was that you, through all the experiments that all of us ran, right? Someone ran tap room, someone ran brew pub, someone did 200 taps. Through all of that, what we
Correct.
learned was this, right? And this is something that we have discussed so many times in those Zoom calls. Here, what is the outcome that we should seek collectively, right?
Correct.
What should these laws enable us to do, right?
Correct.
And like, it's very clear, right, that till you as a small craft brewery, you are not a D2C brand in the sense that you have a really one-on-one relationship with your customer with
Correct.
no one in the middle, right?
Correct.
You will simply not be financially healthy enough.
Correct.
Right? And this is a lesson that all of us in Maharashtra have collectively learned, right?
Correct.
And so the second thing was that how to get that done, right? And which is where this whole growler stations plus your growlers is the thing, man. I mean, we finally have the tools to build a end-to-end craft beer D2C brand, right?
Correct.
We
Correct.
have them now. We
Correct.
have them now in 2022, right?
Correct.
And it took us time from 2009 to 2022. But the point is that it has been a logical progression, right?
Correct.
Like,
correct.
From selling at the premises to selling at other restaurants,
correct.
to now selling in a different excise format where we can have a direct one-to-one relationship with the customer.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And you know, man, I mean, we simply are not at a scale where there is so much volume that even with thin operating margins, your overheads are taken care of, right?
Correct.
So we simply don't have enough money to leave at the table for, let's say, someone to buy beer from us at 200 rupees a liter, right?
Correct.
Like,
correct.
You know that, like, there is no way you can turn profit at 200 rupees a liter doing a B2B business, right? But if the same product, right? If now you have tools to sell directly to the customer and without like heavy capex, right? Because that's the other thing, right?
Correct.
Like spending 1 crore rupees to build a shop to reach the customer,
correct.
While financially it might be a sound idea, right? It capex wise, it is out of reach for most, right?
Absolutely.
It's out of reach for most, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, so which is why, like I was saying here, this is the second big moment for us, right? Where we have been given the right tools by the excise department and said, okay, now go. We have given you what you wanted for, that you wanted to directly sell to your customer. Here, now go directly sell to your customer. Right?
Correct. So that's where we are. And one of the points that you mentioned, and now we know who we are selling to, what is it that the customer prefers, what is the frequency with which they want to drink beer, and what are the occasions that they're drinking a beer for. Essentially, we now have a fair idea of how to speak to our customers. Earlier, we were trying different ways of speaking to our customer and building
all this data. Think about this, right? All this data was generated for all that beer you have sold till now.
Correct.
It is just that you don't have it.
Correct.
You simply don't have that data, man. And imagine how different your decisions would have been if you always had access to this data.
Absolutely, 100%. And we can be a part of the consumer's life in a much more direct way right now. For example, in 2020, a customer reached out to us saying they usually send out gifts to their friends and family on Diwali, but unfortunately, they had fallen sick during Diwali. They had COVID. The entire family was locked in, so they didn't do anything for Diwali. But during New Year's is when they sent out a liter of beer from us to 120 different people.
Very nice. Very nice.
In one shot, they had helped me reach 120 new people. 120 new people came to know what Crafters is. They tried beers from Crafter. And I'm sure this is the same thing in a different version has been true for you as well.
In my case, this revelation has been corporate gifting, dude.
I was just going to say that. Yes,
Corporate
exactly.
gifting, like, yeah, okay. It is shocking the amount
Yeah.
of business I have done in home delivering beer as corporate gifts in the past 6 months.
Yeah.
Matlab, I look at that number and I in disbelief.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Correct. So the same thing, corporate gifting was big for us as well. There were big tech companies that had reached out to us saying, "Can we do something?" The only challenge that we had felt at that point of time was that teams are across India, and our presence is limited only to Maharashtra. But yes, corporate gifting and gifting as a whole is something which is huge for us. And as I said, it helps us in getting a part of the consumer's life.
Yeah.
In a very direct way, versus earlier when they had to come to our restaurant, a partner restaurant, or a brew pub just to try out a beers. And there are so many touch points in the earlier experience which can put off the customer, right? They might not like our food, they might not like our service, they might not like my face in general. They might
hell, मतलब नीचे parking नहीं मिला.
Exactly.
नीचे parking नहीं मिला, क्या कर लेगा तू?
Correct. Versus here, they are just calling my guy WhatsApp or just going on my website, deciding. It is funny the number of times I have woken up in the morning and seeing the number of orders that have been placed at 1:30 a.m., 2 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. People are placing orders on the website for beer. And I mean, that's the great thing, right? उसको beer पीने का मन किया, उसने order कर दिया, अगले दिन उसको deliver भी हो गया. So
you can imagine, right? कि मतलब like लोग बैठे हुए कुछ बातें हो रही है, कल यहाँ ये प्लान करेंगे, अरे वो बियर मंगवाएंगे, अरे अभी मंगवा के रख दे.
Correct.
प्लान बन गया.
Correct. So beer on demand is becoming huge.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, it's as I said, after the keg, it's the biggest thing that has happened to us, right?
Correct.
I'm so bullish about craft beer in Maharashtra after this. I cannot even.
Correct.
It's amazing.
I mean, there are people, friends of mine who are big in the whole funding game and D2C phase and VC game, and they keep asking me, "Oh, how can you take this national?" I said, "I don't need to go national. This is something. Maharashtra is the biggest market for beer in India.
Yeah.
And even if you get like a small chunk out of that entire pie, it's a huge piece for you.
200 crore का तुम 5 साल में तुम 200 crore का धंधा खड़ा कर दोगे. बहुत सिंपल बात है.
Correct.
हाँ, और तुम एज अ वीसी तुम ये बोल सकते हो कि यार 200 करोड़ कुछ ज्यादा मतलब नहीं है. मैं ये बोलूंगा कि यार वो 200 करोड़ में ना कुछ 70-80 करोड़ वो होगा, सॉरी 70 करोड़ के आसपास एबिटा होगा उस धंधे का. ठीक है. और दूसरी बात ये है कि और दूसरी बात ये है कि जहां तक नेशनल का सवाल है, ठीक है, आपको 2019 में भी एज अ वीसी नहीं दिख रहा था कि इतने स्टेट्स में माइक्रो ब्रूरीज होंगी. तो आपसे बात करके फायदा ही नहीं है कि आज से 5 साल बाद हर स्टेट में ग्राउलर होंगे और हर स्टेट में होम डिलीवरी होगी. Because logically there is no reason for this not to happen in every other state.
Correct.
I told you what happened to me the other day, right? I had gone to the excise office for our the Dadar का growler station का कुछ कागजात साइन करने थे.
Correct.
So वहां पे वो सीनियर के साथ कोई आंध्र प्रदेश एक्साइज का सुपरिटेंडेंट बैठा हुआ था, right?
Correct.
And the single point agenda the Andhra Pradesh excise ka superintendent was sitting there was because he wanted to understand in great detail the microbrewery policy and all the changes on the microbrewery policy that have happened in Maharashtra, specifically the growlers and the growler stations.
Correct.
So to our VC friends, the only thing I will say is कि ठीक है, you watch, yeah. What else can I tell you?
Correct.
Like when I tried to tell you in 2009 that you know what, every state will have a microbrewery policy, and you're like, I don't know, Kingfisher will stop that from happening.
Correct.
Politicians will stop that from happening.
Correct.
Similarly, in 2022, you are saying कि यार ये तो सिर्फ महाराष्ट्र में हो रहा है, ये ना बाकी जगह पे होने में बहुत तकलीफ होगा, and the reasons are again the same.
Correct.
किंगफिशर नहीं होने देगा,
Correct.
ठीक है, गवर्नमेंट नहीं होने देगी,
Correct.
अन्ना हजारे नहीं होने देगा, or some
Correct.
shit like that.
Correct.
But the fact is कि like you and I have been around the block for long enough to know
Correct.
that it is not a matter of if, it's a
Correct.
matter of when, right?
Correct.
Like agar, like if you are in on the news, you already know that Bangalore has already played around with growlers during the lockdown.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And we know that our CBI friends in Bangalore are running, are trying really hard to get this growler thing going and permanent on a regular basis, even
Absolutely.
for their brew pubs.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
To the best of my understanding, I think ये अमर मुझे बता रहा था, अपना अमर श्रीवास्तव, the ex-Doolally brewer.
Yes, yes.
So he was telling me there is a serious conversation in Delhi excise about Correct. Growlers and home delivery and things like that.
Correct, correct. There are players now, from Maharashtra who are helping Delhi excise formulate that policy.
Really, who's doing that?
Manu from Effingwood is having a very serious
very nice.
Yes.
Very nice, very nice. So अब ये सारी चीजें तो अपन अपने VC लोगों को समझा नहीं सकते ना.
Correct.
Right?
Because
उनको क्या चाहिए, तू बॉटल में भर के वाइन शॉप में बेच. ठीक है. अगर तेरा धंधा वो नहीं है, तो VC बोलेगा यार मेरे को तेरे को पैसे नहीं देने.
Correct.
And I'm okay with that. I'm fine.
Correct.
I'm really fine with that.
Yeah, but I mean, alcohol across the globe, if we look at, it's very regional, right? I mean, even in the US, if you take a look at the way microbreweries operate, not every major microbrewery in the US has presence across all 50 states. Some are very local players. They don't have any sales outside their home state. So regionalism in alcohol is something which has always been there, and I believe it will continue. Yeah,
these are large businesses, right?
Yes,
large businesses.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we are. I mean, calling us peanuts will also be like a very big. I mean, compliment to us if we say that we are peanuts as compared to that. So. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, even if you have a big presence in Maharashtra, I think you're still a very big player in the beer industry in India.
So I completely agree with you, right? Historically, craft beer as a phenomenon has been regional, and even within regions, ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब एक player ने सब कुछ खा लिया है, क्योंकि ये zero sum game नहीं है.
Correct.
ये zero sum game नहीं है. ये मतलब 30-40 साल battle of attrition है to take share from shit beer.
Correct.
Right? And there is a lot of share to be taken from shit beer.
Correct.
A lot of share, right?
Correct.
तो अपन सारे 20 लोग मिलके हजार करोड़ का धंधा बना सकते हैं इसी स्टेट में बैठ के. Right? इतना बड़ा धंधा है.
Absolutely.
तो एक तो वो बात है कि just the ridiculous size of populations and urban agglomerations dwarfs the US markets on the same metrics. फर्क इतना है कि यहाँ पे per capita consumption कम है. तो per capita consumption का craft beer का consumption बढ़ाने का काम तो तेरा और मेरा है.
Correct, absolutely.
हमको enough time दे दो, हम enough लोगों को पिला देंगे. हमको कोई टेंशन नहीं है और
Correct.
हम जल्दी में भी नहीं है सब करने के. ठीक है, एक तो वो बात है, राइट? और यार दूसरा ये है कि what do you mean by how do you scale this nationally? क्या मतलब तुम is like the 3 states or 4 states or let's say 7 urban agglomerations that account for 70 or 60% of this country's beer market by value, right? Is that not a national play? Do I need to be in every fucking wine shop? Like which is why yeah, it's very challenging to have conversations with VCs, right?
Correct.
Because their lens is, इसको हमको किंगफिशर का बिजनेस मॉडल समझ आता है, फैक्ट्री लगाओ, 3-tier डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है, स्कीम्स चलाओ, बिलो द लाइन मार्केटिंग करो, कुछ ऐसे इवेंट स्पॉन्सर करो और बेचो, हमको ये समझ में आता है।
Correct.
ये दूसरा वाला जहां पे तुमको 15 तो द फर्स्ट थिंग कि अब तू कितने स्टाइल की बियर रखता है अपने यहाँ पे?
Between 7 to 8 on an average.
मैं around 9 to 10.
Correct.
Can Bira manage 10 SKUs in a distribution their size?
No. It will be very difficult because they have so many decision makers in the value chain. आप ये कपड़ा तो है नहीं कि आप एक 10 टी-शर्ट्स बना रहे हो, उसमें 2 स्मॉल साइज होना चाहिए, 4 मीडियम होना चाहिए, 3 लार्ज होना चाहिए, 1 एक्सेल, डबल एक्सेल। ये तो नहीं, ऐसे तो नहीं बेच सकते ना हम किसी को कुछ भी।
करेक्ट।
बियर में तो डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर बोलता है भाई ये बिकता है, मैं यही लूंगा, मेरे को दूसरा कुछ चाहिए नहीं करके। अगर आपको बेचना है ऐसी चीज जो नहीं बिकती है, तो आपको उसको तोड़ू स्कीम देनी पड़ेगी, and which makes your entire business not profitable. So the question becomes that do you want to cater to 2% of your entire consumer base, or do you want to say कि नहीं मेरे को करना ही नहीं है, मैं छोड़ देता हूँ।
And again we have seen our friend at Moonshine go through their own set of struggles trying to build a business there, right? I'm pretty sure they have a very bright future, right?
Absolutely.
They have a very bright future. I have no doubt about it, right? But you ask them, is it tough or not tough? They'll tell you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So they are where you were back in 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the benefit of having seen your struggle. Yeah. And completely.
Yeah, VC conversations are weird. Yeah.
Correct.
VC conversations are very weird. But ठीक है. सीख रहे वो भी अभी भी.
Correct. So how do you see the space evolving in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, in the next 3 to 5 years, I think in Maharashtra, craft beer will reach like Nashik, Aurangabad, Nagpur, Kolhapur, and maybe even one layer of towns below them. Like Nashik, Aurangabad, Nagpur, Kolhapur will have a proper craft beer scene in the next 3 to 5 years. And when I say proper craft beer scene, I mean all 18 of us selling about 5 to 6 styles each. So 100 unique styles, correct, 18 breweries in all these cities. I guarantee that this is going to happen, right? Correct. So 3 to 5 years, we'll see Maharashtra craft beer booming, right? 3 to 5 years, we'll see all of us sort of honing our D2C skills and becoming good at fulfillment, becoming good at operations, all of those things. That's things that we're learning now. Correct. Nationally, I see, यार 3 से 5 साल में ना हार्डली कोई मीनिंगफुल स्टेट बचा होगा जहां पे माइक्रो ब्रूअरी पॉलिसी नहीं होगी. Correct? Hardly, right? Absolutely. In the group of form तो हर जगह होने वाली है, right? Absolutely. In the next 3 to 5 years, in the early craft beer markets, right? Like Delhi हो या हरियाणा हो या Bangalore या कर्नाटका हो, right? Yeah. यहाँ पे अब तक कुछ भी रिफॉर्म्स नहीं हुए हैं जब से beer आई है, right? Yeah. So you will see the same thing that has happened in Maharashtra in terms of reforms to the microbrewery policy. You will see a ton of that happening in some of these bigger states, right? So all the questions that VCs are asking you and me today will be answered in 3 to 5 years. Unfortunately, you and I would have made enough money selling beer by then, and we won't be taking money from them. So that's too bad for them. But take it. Yeah. Yeah. Pondicherry. I mean, Pondicherry. They will fund our competitors. Yeah, I'd been asked this question 5 years back when we just about started operations or were about to start operations. Question was, can you replace Bira on the counter? I said, none of us need to replace Bira.
My consumer even today drinks every beer that there is out there, drinks a beer from every microbrewery, because they are in a phase where they are trying out new beers, they're trying out new styles. They
and
want
in
to
all
see,
likelihood,
yeah,
sorry, they want to see.
they want to see how a Crafter's Belgian wheat is different from a Doolally Belgian, how Crafter's Hefeweizen is different from a Doolally Hefeweizen, how a Crafter's Stout is different from, say, Imperial Coconut Stout that Doolally makes, how the coffee stout is different from that. And at the end of the day, the customer is going to decide what style of beer they like from each brewery. They are never going to say, oh, I don't drink beer from this brewery at all. There is going to be one
And
style that people enjoy drinking.
and if you and I do our jobs well, right,
Yeah.
and we keep making good beers and keep innovating,
Yeah.
this is what is going to happen, because
Exactly.
these are curious people who were attracted to this category because they were curious about what more there is, right?
Absolutely.
So if we keep making beers that pique their curiosity, right,
Correct.
there is no reason to believe that this behavior of like, hey man, oh, this is new, I want to try that. Oh, that is new, I want to go there. Oh,
Correct.
this is this is how it works, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we have and I'm sure you do the same. We have a fan base for beers. A customer orders beer from me only if my cucumber lager is on tap, saying मेरे को cucumber lager ही पीना है बाबा, मुझे और कुछ नहीं पीना.
Same.
जब आ जाएगा मुझे फोन कर देना, मुझे कॉफी स्टाउट आ जाएगा, फोन कर देना. So that's how the market works, and that is what all of us are doing. Essentially, we are trying to expand our market. We are trying to grow, get a beer drinker, a regular average beer drinker, to try out something different. Now, what clicks is a different question, different matter altogether. But a customer wants to try out new things.
Yeah, I agree.
So going forward,
So yeah, I'm very bullish, man. Very bullish. We are going to see a lot of craft beer brands take the D2C route that you, I, and a bunch of us
correct,
in Maharashtra have taken. You will see
correct,
this emerge as a national phenomenon, right?
correct,
Because like it is evident to anyone who's a small craft brewery that you immediately start getting into financial difficulties the minute there is an intermediary between you and the customer.
correct.
Right? So
Absolutely.
there is the whole credit cycle thing. There is a whole bunch of nonsense going on there, right? So
correct.
So yeah, I'm overall I'm damn bullish, right? क्योंकि we तो अपने country का खाने का cuisine देख ले यार, कितना diverse और varied है, right? That just tells you कि अपने लोगों को खुजली कितनी है खाने पीने की यहाँ वहाँ जाके, right?
Correct.
So this fits right in, right? And it's different from beer because yeah, it's a far more casual beverage than beer, yeah. Sorry, than wine. It's a and even like, okay, I don't like wine, right? So maybe I'm coming from the place of bias. It's, as a consumer, it's even from a flavors point of view, a beer is far more approachable than a wine. And even if you compare same complexity, ठीक है, तू मतलब बहुत ही less complex white wine ले ले, right?
Correct.
तो Chenin Blanc type ले ले, right?
Correct.
और तो apple cider ले ले. So Chenin Blanc और apple cider valid comparison है, right? दोनों ऐसे sweetish है.
Correct.
More people will like the apple cider, like someone who has never had both, right? And
Correct.
you say कि ये taste करो, right?
Correct.
More people will like the apple cider than the Chenin Blanc. और तो फिर उसको complex कोई ऐसे बहुत ही Shiraz type ऐसे aged for 5 years type wine ले ले और उसके बाजू में तू ऐसा कोई Weizenbock aged for one ऐसा कोई beer रख दे, right?
Correct.
लोगों को वो beer ज़्यादा पसंद आएगा.
Correct.
So yeah, it's big, man. The opportunity is big, right? And the fact that excise is a state subject means that there's going to be a huge divergence, at least in the short run, in what the rules of the game are in different states, right? But it still means that there will be more people entering and there will be more interesting beers being made, right? It's all good, man. It's all good. And यार किसने कहा है कि तुमको तुम्हारी national strategy में तुम्हारा जो execute like the plan you execute in Maharashtra need not be the same plan you execute in fucking Karnataka, right?
Absolutely.
ये रूल किसने बनाया है कि तुम हर जगह सिर्फ बॉटलों में बेचोगे या हर जगह सिर्फ टैप रूम करोगे? ऐसा कोई रूल नहीं है.
Absolutely.
कोई रूल नहीं है ऐसा. कोई रूल नहीं है.
Different states.
Yeah.
Different states, different localities have different playbooks, and in some way you have to adhere to that playbook, and in some way you have to try and disrupt that playbook. That's how things are going to be. It's not a one size fits all, one strategy fits all markets, the way the scene is currently.
We are toy. Look at the boys at toy. Right? They're so smart, man. Like CB, and they're such smart guys, right? What they have done in Bangalore is very different from what they are doing in Maharashtra. It's very different from their whole apple cider plan that they have, that they are like very close to rolling out, right?
Yeah.
All of this is in the same space. Correct. Now, if you had gone and told a VC that I'm going to do these three things, they're like,
फोकस नहीं है.
ये फोकस नहीं है. तू बस वो फैक्ट्री लगा उधर हिमाचल में, बाकी सब बंद करते.
Correct.
So it's going to be a fun time here.
Yeah. Everyone's taking different approaches, and I'm pretty sure all of them, as long as the product is right, as long as the marketing is right, I don't see, as you said, it's not a zero-sum game.
It's not a zero-sum game.
Yeah. And the faster everyone understands it, and the faster there are collaborations, and faster there are helping each other out, I think the faster it will help us all grow together.
यार ये महाराष्ट्र में we have been able to pull off all of this, right? ये सारा मतलब like we were alone working with the government just for the first part, right? For the second part, we had Naveen pounding the corridors with us, right?
Yes.
For the third part, we had all you fuckers pounding the corridor with us. Now for the fourth part, we are not even doing anything. Everything else is being done by you and Nikhil and Saurabh and everyone, right? So for the growlers thing, I remember like वो एक show के लिए मेरे को और Oliver को एक meeting में बिठाया था. बाकी सारा सब काम तो तुम ही लोगों ने किया है, right?
And new thought processes will emerge, and people will go about that. Yeah.
So like even to make things happen legislatively, collaboration is important, right? वो क्योंकि like this is what we learned all together, right? कि यार हाँ ठीक है, रेसिपी शेयरिंग वगैरह वो तो है ही, राइट? वो तो करते ही, बिग डील, करेक्ट? But a deeper collaboration is necessary if all of us have to thrive, and the deeper collaboration is like deciding what are the rules of the game that we are going to play together, right? So instead of some third party in the government deciding that, how about like all of us sit at the table and decide, okay, we are playing this game, let's set the rules, right? And yeah, ये जरूरी है, right? ये जरूरी है. थोड़ा slow हो रहा है बाकी states में, but this is what I keep telling Sibi. Here, guys, the guys in Karnataka, you guys should meet more. Yeah, you guys should talk more, right? ये मतलब मैं जाके एक कर रहा हूँ और दूसरा जाके वो कर रहा है. It's not going to work, right?
Correct.
Hopefully, this whole working with MCBA must have been an interesting experience for him.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yep.
And by the way, it's not all like hunky dory, right? We fight like little children in these meetings, correct?
Obviously.
We like that WhatsApp group. Like अगर कोई बाहर से आया तो उसको लगेगा ये क्या टॉक्सिक सेक्सफुल चल रहा है यहाँ पे.
Absolutely. There are,
but at the end of it, we get like the focus is to get things done, right?
Every time there is a message posted on a group for whatever reason, there are 5 or 6 private chats that I get just because of one particular message saying, "अरे ये क्या है? अरे तू कुछ क्यों नहीं बोलता?" I'm like, let them do whatever they want. नहीं जाने दे, हम क्यों बोलने का उसमें कुछ भी करते. But yeah, I think the Maharashtra block is far more cooperative, far more collaborative, and
the Maharashtra craft beer scene is a very interesting experiment to me, right? In in general, how to bootstrap an industry in a state.
Correct.
Like how should how should the industry players collaborate amongst each other? How
Correct.
should they collaborate with the government, right? Like even the sensibility to know what to ask for and what not to ask for.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, your camp. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that
It's
is right.
fun.
The
It's
sensibility.
fun.
It's fun. Yeah. Anyways, I think we've had a fun, insightful session. Let's
Thank you
close
so
it.
much.
Let's close it on this note, and hopefully we'll do more of these when that fourth and the fifth stage get done.
Oliver Baba ko bulao.
Call him. Yeah, we are doing
He will
this
have
across.
he will have an interesting view on like grooming brewing talent, right? Because
Yeah,
that's something that that's something that he
absolutely.
has. One of his like if one of his contributions to the Indian craft brewing scene is co-founding Doolally,
Correct.
his bigger contribution is probably like spawning out a team of like, I don't know, 20 brewers out there easily now that he
More
has
than that.
trained.
More than that.
More than that, right?
More than that. Absolutely more than that.
So
If
like he's a very interesting. I'm sorry.
it's only now that the brewers are doing their internships outside Doolally. Uh, in the last 2 3 years, because a lot of these microbreweries have mushroomed up. Before that, every brewer, every graduate, every masters from Vasant Sugar Institute has had some dealings with Doolally and Oliver. So that's how it is, and Oliver's never
No,
shied away from
or from an industry point of view, no, it's a very interesting thing, right? Because talent is something that is a structural constraint for growth, right? If you don't have
Yep,
enough brewers, there won't be enough beer, right?
yep,
And
absolutely.
so he would have a very interesting view on training like non Vasant graduates, right? जो जैसे अपना वो मतलब को 2 3 होटल मैनेजमेंट वाले वो ट्रेन किया, right?
We
बहुत
have one
सही है
assistant. We have one assistant brewer who's a hotel management graduate.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We have, in fact, people from the hotel management industry are very into to try alternate streams. So there are a bunch of these guys who joined as in the marketing team of Moonshine. At
Oh, wow.
Crafters, we hire these hotel management graduates to run our stores. Essentially, it's a different sort of engagement that they're doing with us versus वो टोप टाई और वो पहन के one of these 5 stars में काम करने का, where the working conditions are really bad and the pay is shitty.
Like these are people who are studying right now.
Yeah, studying or have just graduated. So I was shocked to hear this. I was really shocked to hear this, that a hotel graduate from one of these hotel management colleges, when they join a 5 star, they get paid like 12,000, 13,000 rupees. It's insane. It's slavery. It's absolute slavery. You are getting a nice, educated, well-groomed English-speaking boy, 21-year-old. You're paying him 12,000. It's essentially slavery.
It's terrible. And or they get even less for their internships when they are doing it, when they are studying. वहां पे तो वो उनको मतलब कई सिचुएशंस में पैसा भी नहीं मिलता है.
It's horrible.
Like वो अपनी जेब से पैसा खर्च करके ट्रैवल करते हैं.
And they work like 12 hours a day, and it's not as if they're working front of the house also. They get put in random assignments. They get put like room service, cleaning of the rooms. These are, I mean, so yeah. So I mean, it's an alternate career choice for a lot of these hotel graduate people as well.
Retail is a nice choice for them, right? Because they're sort of prepped for that. At least the front of the house guys are most definitely prepped for that.
Correct.
Retail.
Correct. And you're developing a new skill set, which is essentially they're getting to learn about craft beer. So any good restaurant that they want to work for in the future, it's a plus on their resume.
It's a big plus.
Knowledge
It's a
has
big
knowledge
plus.
of craft beers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's thanks to us now.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Thank you, Vipul.
let's close this.
Lovely talking to you.
Lovely speaking to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.